Tyler Herro of the Miami Heat is one of those guys who consistently performs well in the clutch and helps his team out when they need him most. No wonder he was once 6th man of the year and is now one of the starting 5 for the Heat. But did you know there was a time when he wasn't seen as one of the top young basketball prospects in the league? It's true, there was a long list of players who sat ahead of Herro when ESPN was sizing up his potential draft class back in 2018. Some people didn't see the need for Herro and his physical build and focus on shooting from the perimeter. They didn't think he brought a lot to the table. Oh, how he has proven them all wrong. To celebrate his career, we are going to examine all of the players who were ranked ahead of Herro in the 2018 mock drafts. He ended up being picked 13th by the Miami Heat and has become one of the most dynamic young players in the league.
Herro for 3. Yes! With 7 seconds left, Tyler Herro!
But scouts and analysts once had a different view of his potential. We are going to kick things off with RJ Barrett, who was the consensus #1 high school player in 2018. We can't blame people for thinking RJ was the next big thing. He had a stellar freshman year at Duke, averaging 22.6 points, 7.6 rebounds, and 4.3 assists per game. In the end, he was drafted 3rd overall by the New York Knicks in 2019 and became a vital part of that franchise. These days, you can find Barrett working hard for the Toronto Raptors, where his scoring ability and versatility have made him a key player. While Herro has had more playoff success, Barrett's consistency and star potential keep him in the conversation as one of the top players from this group. Now it's time to talk about Zion Williamson, and we can all agree that his career has been complicated, to put it gently. When the draft rolled around, Zion was the most hyped prospect since LeBron James. Since then, well, life has been full of ups and downs. He dominated at Duke, showcasing a freakish athleticism and scoring ability. Then he was the #1 pick in the 2019 draft by the New Orleans Pelicans and looked like the future of the league. When healthy, Zion has been a force, averaging over 25 points per game.
Take it away. Showtime.
However, injuries have plagued his career, limiting his impact. Despite this, Zion's ceiling remains sky high, and he's still considered one of the most talented players in the league. Cam Reddish was another Duke standout because of his smooth shooting and defensive potential. Cam was drafted 10th overall by the Atlanta Hawks in 2019, but has struggled to find consistency in the NBA. Reddish has bounced around the league, playing for the Knicks, Trail Blazers, and more recently the Los Angeles Lakers, but he just hasn't lived up to the hype that once had him ranked as a top 5 prospect. Still, at just 25 years old, there's time for him to turn things around, but a lot of people are giving up on him ever making a huge splash in the league. Now time for a literal giant of the game, Bol Bol. Bol was seen as a 7'2" unicorn. He was a top 10 recruit in 2018 and had a unique skill set as a big man who could shoot and handle the ball made him a fascinating prospect. However, a foot injury at Oregon caused his draft stock to drop and he was picked 44th overall in 2019. Ouch! Bol has shown flashes of brilliance in the NBA.
The spin move and the step through and drops the hammer.
Particularly with the Orlando Magic, but consistency and health remain issues. His potential and size are still tantalizing though. Romeo Langford was a scoring machine in high school and had a solid freshman year at Indiana. Because of that, he was drafted 14th overall by the Boston Celtics in 2019, but struggled to carve out a significant role in the NBA. Langford is a good baller, particularly on defense, but hasn't been able to establish himself as a reliable contributor. We last saw him playing for the San Antonio Spurs, where he earned a little less than 7 points per game. Nasir Little was a top 5 recruit who played at North Carolina. He was drafted 25th overall by the Portland Trail Blazers in 2019. Since then, Little has developed into a solid role player, known for his energy and defense. He hasn't become a star and is currently out of the league, but he's just 25 years old and might be back in the NBA someday. Another star who sat ahead of Tyler Herro in mock drafts was Keldon Johnson, who was a standout player at Kentucky and then drafted 29th overall by the San Antonio Spurs in 2019. Johnson has done pretty well for himself since then. He has blossomed into a key player for the Spurs, averaging over 20 points per game in the 2022-23 season. His output has slipped a bit since then, and he is averaging 11.5 in 2024-25, but his work ethic and versatility have made him one of the most successful players from this group. Here's another guy we have seen a lot of since he was competing against Herro. Quentin Grimes had a strong college career at Kansas and Houston. He was drafted 25th overall by the Los Angeles Clippers in 2021, but never played for them and instead started his rookie season with the New York Knicks.
Ahead for Grimes, the layup goes!
And Grimes has kept at it, becoming a reliable 3-and-D player for the Knicks by showing off his shooting and defensive skills. He's carved out a solid role in the league and is currently playing more than 32 minutes per game. Portland Trail Blazers are really happy with the next name on our list, Anfernee Simons. Simons skipped college and went straight to the NBA, being drafted 24th overall by the Portland Trail Blazers in 2018. With the freedom to grow from the Blazers, Simons has developed into a dynamic scorer, averaging over 20 points per game in recent seasons. His explosive athleticism and shooting make him one of the most exciting young guards in the league.
Blazers want to go with this basketball. They waste no time.
Simons rushing off the screen, drilled it straight away.
Yes, his team might not be amazing right now, but Simons has confirmed that he has a huge upside and might be in the league for a very long time. Jalen Smith, aka Sticks, was a standout at Maryland and was drafted 10th overall by the Phoenix Suns in 2020. After a slow start to his career, Smith has found a home with the Indiana Pacers and now the Chicago Bulls, where he's become a reliable big man with a strong inside-out game. Louis King was a top recruit who played at Oregon. He went undrafted in 2019, but has spent time in the NBA and G League. King obviously has talent, or else he wouldn't be on this list, but he hasn't been able to secure a permanent spot in the league. Tyler Herro isn't the only guy we are talking about today who won 6th Man of the Year. Moving on to Naz Reid of the Minnesota Timberwolves, who is now one of the most explosive and consistent players in the NBA. Reid was an LSU standout and ranked on many mock draft lists, but actually went undrafted in 2019. But that didn't matter, because he soon signed with the Minnesota Timberwolves. While playing on the T-Wolves, Reid has developed into a valuable role player, known for his scoring and rebounding off the bench. On top of his scoring output, he's also become a fan favorite in Minnesota. Darius Bazley skipped college and was drafted 23rd overall by the Oklahoma City Thunder in 2019. Bazley has potential as a versatile forward, but has had a tough time fighting with inconsistency. He's currently trying to find his footing in the league, and we last saw him playing for the Utah Jazz last season.
7 space, he created that on his own. The ball short, picked up Bazley baseline, wrapped it up and in.
E.J. Montgomery is a name you may remember because of his impressive time at Kentucky, but like others on this list, he went undrafted in 2020. Since that draft, he has played a bit in the G League and overseas and is still trying to make his mark in professional basketball. Next, we have Moses Brown, a 7-foot 2-inch center who played at UCLA and went undrafted in 2019. He's had stints with several NBA teams, including the Thunder and Cavaliers, but hasn't established himself as a consistent contributor. He recently played with the Pacers for a bit, but he wasn't on the court for more than 6 minutes a game. Okay, it's clear that some of these players weren't as good as Tyler Herro, but Darius Garland is not one of them. Unlike many others we have spoken of today, Garland is a legitimate NBA superstar and worthy of all the praise he is getting. Garland was a top recruit who played at Vanderbilt and then drafted 5th overall by the Cleveland Cavaliers in 2019. During his 6-year career in the league, Garland has become an all-star and one of the best young point guards in the league, leading the Cavs' resurgence and their march to the top of the Eastern Conference standings.
To Garland, Darius Garland over the timeline, Garland for the win!
While not as successful as Herro or Darius Garland, Tre Jones was drafted 41st overall by the Spurs in 2020 and has gone on to be a reliable point guard, known for his playmaking and leadership. Charles Bassey played at Western Kentucky and was drafted 53rd overall in 2021. He's shown promise as a shot blocker and rebounder, but is still working to secure a consistent role. Moving along, we are now on to Simisola Shitu, who was a top recruit who played at Vanderbilt and went undrafted in 2019. He's played in the G League and overseas, still chasing his NBA dream. Ashton Hagans, a Kentucky standout, went undrafted in 2020. He's spent time in the G League and is working to prove he belongs in the NBA. Emmett Williams played at LSU and went undrafted in 2020. He's played in the G League and overseas, continuing to develop his game. Next on our list is Jalen Horde, a Wake Forest product who wasn't picked in the 2019 draft, but he forged forward and then had some brief NBA stints but has primarily played overseas. Kobe White, a North Carolina standout, was drafted 7th overall by the Chicago Bulls in 2019. White has become a key player for the Bulls, known for his scoring and energy. Devin Dotson, a Kansas product, went undrafted in 2020. He spent time in the G League and is working to earn an NBA opportunity.
Juventud La Laguna Tenerife. Devin Dotson atacando el 1 contra 1 directo al aro. Cristal canasta de Devin Dotson.
Here's another name you probably have heard a lot over the last few years. Emmanuel Quickley, a Kentucky standout, was drafted 25th overall by the Knicks in 2020. Quickley has become a valuable 6th man, known for his scoring and defense. A top recruit who played at Alabama, Javon Quinterly, went undrafted in 2023. He's currently playing overseas, looking to make his mark. Big man David McCormick went undrafted back in 2022 and continues to play overseas to this day, forging ahead on his basketball journey even though he's not in the NBA. After the success he has found in the NBA, it's actually somewhat surprising to see Andrew Nembhard so far down on this list. But even though he wasn't catching a lot of attention back in 2018, he was eventually drafted 31st overall by the Pacers in 2022. In the years since entering the NBA, Andrew has shown a lot of promise as a playmaker and defender, and is still balling his heart out for the Pacers. Finally, we have Reggie Perry, who sat ahead of Tyler in ESPN's mock draft, but was picked 57th overall in 2020. He's had brief NBA stints, but is primarily playing overseas. Herro ranked behind all of these guys, but we all know that didn't slow him down or make him stop following his dreams. And we are lucky he didn't, because he's a sharpshooting assassin we all love to watch. He didn't lose faith in himself, and thankfully we didn't either.